wake up at 3 a.m. every night. You think it's insomnia? It's not. It is a summons. A whisper from a part of your soul that remembers a time before clocks. A time when the veil between worlds grew thin in the deep quiet of the pre-dawn. It is an echo, a resonance with an ancient frequency that has been trying to get your attention for a very, very long time. This is not a malfunction of your body. It is the activation of your spirit. It is the same quiet electric hum that once woke prophets in palaces of dust and gold, their hearts pounding not with fear, but with the terrifying and holy weight of a message. You are being called to look at something ancient, something buried. Not in the sands of the earth, but in the pages of a book you thought you knew, the Book of Daniel. We are told it is a story of a brave young man, of lions and fiery furnaces. A story for children. But that is the first lie. It is not a story. It is a key. And it was never meant for children. It was meant for the last generation, for those who will be alive to see the shadows lengthen and the old prophecies begin to breathe again. By the end of this journey, you'll face something you've never dared to look at before. To understand the first dark truth, we must travel back. Not just in time, but in spirit. We must stand where he stood. A young man, his name is Daniel. It means, God is my judge. He's of noble blood, a prince of Judah, but his world has been shattered. The armies of Babylon, a tide of bronze and fury, have swept over Jerusalem, and he is now a captive. A piece of human plunder. Imagine him, standing in the shadow of the Ishtar Gate, the blue-glazed bricks shimmering with dragons and lions creatures, of alien gods. The air is thick with the scent of strange incense, the sound of a language he does not understand, the taste of a culture designed to erase his own. This is Babylon. And Babylon is not just a place, it is a system, a consciousness. Its purpose is not merely to conquer nations, but to consume souls. King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of this vast empire, is more than a king. He is a spiritual architect. He orders the most intelligent, the most handsome, the most promising of the captive Hebrew boys to be brought to his court. They are to be re-educated, indoctrinated. For 3 years, they will be taught the language and the literature of the Chaldeans. They will eat the king's food, drink his wine. They will be remade in the image of Babylon. And the first thing the system does, the very first act of this spiritual warfare, is to change their names. Daniel, God is my judge, is renamed Belshazzer, a name that invokes a Babylonian deity. His friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, are given the name Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Do not mistake this for a mere administrative detail. This is the first dark truth, a truth that is playing out in your own life at this very moment. The world's first and most relentless attack is upon your true name, your spiritual identity. The system must make you forget who you are. It must sever the connection to your source. It gives you a new name, a label, a diagnosis, a job title, a social status. It feeds you its diet of endless information, of fleeting pleasures, of hollow ambitions. It asks you to bow to its idols of success and conformity. And slowly, quietly, without a single shot fired, your true name is buried under the weight of the false one. The memory of who God says you are is replaced by who the world tells you to be. But a seed of the divine cannot be so easily destroyed. In the deep of the night, it stirs. At 3 a.m., it calls. The story shifts. We move from the indoctrination of the captives to the chambers of the king himself. Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful man on earth, the architect of this grand system, is a prisoner in his own bed. He thrashes in silk sheets, his mind tormented by a dream, a vision. But when he awakens, the details are gone, ripped from his memory. All that remains is the chilling residue of its terrible significance. A phantom of dread. He summons his wise men, the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, the astrologers, the spiritual pillars of his empire. Their purpose is to mediate between the seen and the unseen, to give the king an advantage. He issues an impossible command. Tell me what I dreamed, and then tell me what it means. They are stunned. They protest. No king has ever asked such a thing. They stammer. This is a thing for the gods, not for men. And in their protest, they reveal their own impotence. Their connection to the spiritual world is a fraud. Their power is an illusion. The king's response is swift and brutal. His fury is not just the anger of a tyrant. It is the terror of a man who has touched the edge of a reality his own system cannot explain. He orders the execution of every single wise man in Babylon. The decree goes out, a death sentence. And this net, cast in the king's rage, ensnares Daniel and his friends. They too are marked for death, condemned by the failure of the worlds. Wisdom. In the face of annihilation, where does faith begin? It begins in the dark, when the systems of man have pronounced their sentence of death upon you. It begins when you have nothing left to rely on but the whisper that wakes you in the night. The captain of the king's guard, Arioch, finds Daniel. His face is grim. He has his orders. The sword at his hip is not for show. But Daniel does not cower. He does not plead. He responds with something the system of Babylon does not understand. Wisdom and tact. He does not ask for his life. He asks a question. Why is the decree from the king so urgent? Think about this. In a world that reacts, he inquires. In a world of panic, he seeks understanding. This is the posture of one whose identity is not tied to the world's threats. Arioch, a man accustomed to fear and blind obedience, is taken aback. He sees something different in this young man. He explains the situation, the forgotten dream, the king's fury, the collective sentence. And here, Daniel steps into his true authority. He doesn't run. He doesn't hide. He walks directly into the heart of the crisis. He goes to the king and requests time. He makes a promise. He will tell the king the interpretation. This is not arrogance. It is a faith so profound that it looks like madness to the world. He is a captive, a student, a man on death row. Yet he speaks to the king as an equal, not in worldly status, but in spiritual gravity. And the king, perhaps sensing a glimmer of the very power that haunted his sleep, agrees. Daniel returns to his house. To Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. He doesn't just tell them the news. He lays before them the purpose of their crisis. He urges them to seek mercy from the God of heaven concerning this secret. Notice the word he uses, secret, raz in the Aramaic. It means not just a mystery, but a divine counsel, a hidden plan of God. They are not praying to be saved from death. They are praying to become vessels for the revelation of God's plan, so that they, and the entire lineage of divine wisdom they represent, would not perish with the bankrupt wise men of Babylon. This is the second dark truth, hidden in the very fabric of this encounter. God speaks his most critical prophecies through the world's most powerful and often most corrupt systems. He does not whisper his secrets only in the ears of the faithful in quiet cloisters. He roars them into the nightmares of pagan kings. He embeds his timeline into the very heart of the empire that seeks to crush his people. Why? Because that is where the battle for history is being waged. God is not afraid of the darkness. He plants his light there like a seed of dynamite. He forces the systems of man to bear witness to their own eventual destruction. The dream was given to Nebuchadnezzar, but its meaning, its key, was given to Daniel. The world holds the raw data of its own doom, but only the initiated, those who know how to pray for the raz, can decode it. Imagine that room. The air is still. The sounds of the sprawling, godless city fade into a distant hum. 4 young men, their false Babylonian names shed like old skins, call out with their true spiritual identities. They are not 4 separate voices. They become one mind, one heart, one desperate, focused plea to the God of heaven. They are forming a conduit, a spiritual antenna, aligning themselves with the frequency of the divine. This is not the passive, pleading prayer you may have been taught. This is an active, focused, spiritual discipline, a wrestling with the unseen dot, and then it comes dot. It does not come in a gentle whisper. The text says it was revealed in a vision of the night. The veil is torn. For a moment, Daniel is no longer in that small room in Babylon. He is standing outside of time. His consciousness is pulled into the same space the king's mind had touched. But where the king saw only terrifying chaos, Daniel sees with perfect, crystalline clarity. He sees the image, a great statue, immense and dazzling, terrible in its appearance. Its head is of fine gold. Its chest and arms are of silver. Its belly and thighs are of bronze. Its legs are of iron, and its feet are a bizarre and unstable mixture of iron and baked clay dot. As Daniel beholds this monstrous colossus, this timeline of all human history condensed into a single form, he sees something else. A stone cut out, but not by human hands. It flies through the vision and strikes the statue on its feet of iron and clay. And the entire edifice, the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, it all shatters. It becomes like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carries it away without a trace. But the stone that struck the image becomes a great mountain that fills the whole earth. The vision recedes. Daniel is back in his room. The silence is deafening. But it is a new silence, filled not with dread, but with a terrible and holy awe. He has it. The secret. The raz. His first words are not a relief for his own life. His first act is an explosion of praise. Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. He now holds the blueprint of ages, a truth that will seal the fate of empires not yet born. He has seen the beginning and the end of all human kingdoms. He must now return to the king, to the very system that condemned him, not as a captive, begging for his life, but as an oracle bearing the word of the true king. He is about to interpret the world's dream for it, and in doing so, pronounce its sentence. Daniel finds Arioch, the executioner. But the captain does not see a condemned man walking toward him. He sees a messenger who has returned from a place where death has no authority. There is a light in Daniel's eyes, a stillness in his posture. That is more powerful than any sword. Without a word being spoken, the power dynamic has been inverted. Arioch, the agent of the king's decree, becomes Daniel's escort. He leads him not to the chopping block, but back into the throne room, to the very heart of the power that had, moments ago, sought to extinguish him. You are there. You feel the cold marble floor through the thin leather of your sandals. The air is heavy, suffocating with the tension of a court holding its breath. The wise men of Babylon line the walls. Their faces a mixture of resentment, fear, and a desperate, gnawing curiosity. They are the living dead, men whose spirits have already been executed by their own powerlessness. On the throne sits Nebuchadnezzar. He's no longer just a king. He's a man who has stared into the abyss of his own soul and found it empty. He leans forward, his eyes locked on the young Hebrew, the only man in the entire world who can give him back his sanity. Daniel stands before him. He is not defiant. He is not triumphant. He is a conduit, a clear channel. And his first words are a surgical strike against the pride of the entire Babylonian system, the secret which the king has demanded. Daniel's voice is quiet, yet it fills the cavernous hall. The wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot show to the king. He names them one by one, a roll call of failure. He turns the knife. But there's a God in heaven who reveals secrets. He immediately reorients the entire cosmos. Power does not flow from this throne of gold and lapis lazuli. It flows from a throne in heaven, and Daniel is merely its servant. He continues, his words landing like stones in a silent pool. He has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days. The latter days. With this phrase, the dream is ripped from the context of one king's troubled night and becomes a prophecy for the end of the world. For our time, then, he begins to speak the dream. As the words leave his lips, you see the king's face change. Recognition dawns. The phantom of dread takes shape. You, O king, were watching, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose splendor was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. The king's knuckles are white where he grips the arms of his throne. He remembers the terrifying splendor, the inhuman scale. This image's head was of fine gold, its chest and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched while a stone was cut out without hands, which struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. The king is reliving the vision. The court is transfixed in horror. Daniel has done the impossible. He has unlocked the king's mind. Now, all that is left is to unlock the meaning. And here, we confront the third dark truth. A truth so vast it has been hidden in plain sight for millennia. Daniel begins the interpretation. You, O king, are a king of kings. For the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. You are this head of gold. The king swells with pride. He is the head of gold, the pinnacle. But this is a trap, a divine bait and switch, because in the very next breath, the decay begins. But after you shall arise another kingdom, inferior to you, the Medo-Persian Empire, the chest and arms of silver, less valuable, less unified. And after that, another, a third kingdom of bronze, the Greek Empire, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. Rome, crushing, breaking, brutal. Stop. Do not see this as a simple history lesson. That is the surface reading, the safe interpretation. The dark truth is not about the succession of empires. The dark truth is this: all of human history, from its most glorious golden age to its final fractured gasp, is one single, continuous, and degrading entity. The statue is not four separate kingdoms. It is one image, one body. It is the body of man's kingdom. It represents the totality of human civilization, government, philosophy, and religion built in defiance of or in ignorance of God. And the secret Daniel reveals is that this entire project is a process of degeneration. It does not evolve, it devolves. It moves from precious gold to brittle iron mixed with fragile clay. It becomes less glorious, less unified, more brutal, and more unstable with each successive age. This is the hidden prophecy. It is a judgment, not just on Babylon, but on Persia, on Greece, on Rome, and on every empire, every republic, every system that has come since. It says that the human project of self-rule, of building our own towers of Babel, is destined for nothing but disintegration. We think we are progressing. The statue says we are rusting. We think we are getting stronger. The statue says we are becoming more brittle. This single image is God's verdict on all of human history when left to its own devices. It is one, grand, falling idol, and it is still standing. You are living in it. We are in the final fragile moments of the feet and toes of iron and clay. We stand now at the feet of this great image, the place where the prophecy touches our own skin. The legs of iron, the brutal, totalitarian, crushing power of Rome have given way to something stranger, something new. The feet and toes are a mixture, iron and clay. What does this mean? Daniel explains it to the king, but he is also explaining it to you. And as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. And as you saw, iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. But they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. This is the fourth dark truth, and it is the most controversial, the most unsettling, and the most relevant to the world you see outside your window. The iron represents the remnant of the old Roman power, the force of law, of military might, of centralized government. The clay represents something else. It is the people, the populace, democracy, the seed of men. But it is fragile. It is earthen. It is weak. The final form of man's kingdom is a desperate, impossible attempt to weld these two things together. An attempt to fuse totalitarian control with the illusion of popular consent. An attempt to mix the unmixable. Look at our world. Do you not see it? We live under systems that have the iron fist of surveillance, of economic control, of legislative power that can crush dissent in an instant. Yet, they are dressed in the clay of democracy. They hold elections. They have referendums. They speak of the will of the people. But the iron and the clay do not mix. The bond is unnatural. The result is a kingdom that is perpetually divided against itself. It is strong in its capacity for control, yet incredibly brittle in its social cohesion. One sharp blow, and the entire structure will shatter. The prophecy goes deeper. It whispers of a mingling, a mixing of seeds. This phrase, "they will mingle" with the seed of men, has haunted scholars for centuries. Some see it as political alliances, intermarriages between royal houses trying to hold a crumbling empire together. But the language is strange, primal. It echoes the language of Genesis 6, of a time when boundaries were crossed, when the sons of God mingled with the daughters of men, resulting in a corruption of the human line itself. Could it be that the final form of the world system involves a deeper kind of mixing? A transhumanist agenda? A blending of the human with the technological, the organic with the synthetic, in an attempt to fortify the fragile clay of humanity with the cold, hard strength of iron. An attempt to create a new kind of man, one who will adhere to the system. It is a chilling thought, but it is one that resonates with the prophetic language. The feet of the image represent a civilization fundamentally at war with its own nature, trying to forge a unity where none is possible. This is the state of the world just before the end. A global system, powerful and terrifying, yet internally fractured and unstable. A civilization of iron and clay. All it needs is a catalyst. A final, decisive blow, and Daniel gives it a name: the stone. And in the days of these kings, the kings of the divided kingdom, the kings of the iron and clay, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. The stone. It is not a fifth empire rising from the earth. It is not another human political movement. It is cut without hands. This is crucial. It is of supernatural origin. It is not of man's making. It is a divine intervention, a direct, cataclysmic act of God. This is the fifth dark truth, and it annihilates the most cherished hope of the modern world. There will be no human solution to the human problem. There will be no political utopia. There will be no technological salvation. There will be no slow, gradual evolution into a more enlightened age. The entire statue, the whole history of man's dominion from gold to clay, is slated for sudden, violent, and complete demolition. It will not be reformed. It will be pulverized. It will become like chaff, and the wind will carry it away so that no trace of it is found. The coming kingdom of God does not negotiate with the kingdoms of this world. It does not integrate with them. It replaces them utterly. This is not a comforting message. It is a terrifying one for those whose hopes and identity are invested in the statue. The stone is not coming to improve the image. It is coming to obliterate it. When the vision is finished, when the interpretation is complete, a stunned silence hangs in the air. Then, the unthinkable happens. King Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold, the most powerful man on earth, slides from his throne. He falls on his face. He prostrates himself before Daniel, the captive. He commands that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king, the embodiment of the world's power, worships the vessel of God's truth. In that moment, the entire hierarchy of the world is turned upside down. The king confesses, "Truly, your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets." The system has been forced to bear witness to the power that will bring about its own end. Daniel is promoted. He's made ruler over the whole province of Babylon, chief of all its wise men. He has not overthrown the system from the outside. He has been placed at its very heart, a silent, waiting agent of the coming kingdom of the stone. The seeds of the new world are now planted in the center of the old. But this is not the end of the story. It is only the beginning of the war. For the image, though its doom has been prophesied, will not go down without a fight. The dream fades, but its echo shapes the world. Nebuchadnezzar has been humbled, but the pride of a king is a weed with deep roots. The memory of the vision of being called the head of gold festers in his mind. The prophecy foretold his kingdom's decline, its replacement by inferior silver. And the ego of man, the spirit of Babylon, cannot accept this. It rebels against the divine timeline. So, Nebuchadnezzar does something audacious. He decides to rewrite the prophecy. He builds his own image on the plain of Dura, a vast flat expanse where it can be seen for miles around. He erects a new statue. It is not a composite of declining metals. This one is made entirely of gold, from head to foot, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. It is a monstrous, gleaming act of defiance. The king is making a statement. My kingdom, my golden age, will not end. There will be no silver, no bronze, no iron. There will only be gold, forever. This is the sixth dark truth, a spiritual principle of profound and immediate danger. When God reveals his prophetic timeline, the spirit of the world will immediately create a counterfeit version designed to trap you in the present age. The world system will always present you with its own golden image, an image of perpetual economic growth, of unending technological progress, of a humanistic utopia just around the corner. It will tell you that this is it. This is the ultimate reality. It erects this shimmering idol and commands all to worship. It demands your absolute allegiance to the idea that this system, this culture, this age is the only one that matters. A herald cries aloud. The command goes out to all the peoples, nations, and languages that have been gathered. The entire administrative structure of the Babylonian Empire is summoned to the dedication of this idol. To you it is commanded that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. The trigger for worship is sensory. It is music, a symphony, an emotional, overwhelming experience designed to bypass the rational mind and create a state of collective ecstasy. The system does not want you to think. It wants you to feel. It wants you to be swept up in the current, to lose your individuality in the mass movement dot, and then comes the threat, the teeth behind the golden smile. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Conform or be consumed. Bow or burn. This is the eternal choice presented by the spirit of Babylon. The music begins. A wave of sound washes over the plain of Dora, and as one, the peoples, nations, and languages obey. A vast sea of humanity prostrates itself before the glittering lie. The system appears triumphant. Unity has been achieved, but not by truth, by coercion. But three men are still standing: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their Hebrew names, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, whisper in their souls. They know their true identity. They will not bow. They stand erect in a world that is on its face. Three pillars of lonely, terrifying defiance. Their refusal is an act of spiritual warfare. It is a declaration that the king's image is a fraud and his authority is finite. It is a public allegiance to the unseen king and the coming kingdom of the stone. Of course, they are seen. They are always willing agents of the system, Chaldeans who rush to the king, their voices dripping with accusation. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. Nebuchadnezzar is filled with fury. It is the rage of a god whose divinity has been questioned. He has them dragged before him. He gives them one last chance. It is not a gesture of mercy, but a final assertion of his power. He asks a question that drips with blasphemous arrogance. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? He is challenging the God of heaven to a duel. My furnace against your God. Let us see who is stronger. Their response is one of the most powerful statements of faith ever recorded. They do not need to think about it. The answer is already forged in the fire of their commitment. O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. They refuse to even engage in the debate. Their minds are already made up. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. This is a stunning declaration of faith. But what they say next elevates it to a realm beyond all comprehension. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor we worship the gold image, which you have set up. This is the faith that shakes the foundations of hell. It is a faith that is not transactional. It is not based on a guarantee of deliverance. They are not saying, we will trust God because he will save us. They are saying, we will trust God, period, even if he allows us to burn. Their allegiance is not to a desired outcome. Their allegiance is to God himself. They have severed the final cord of attachment to their own survival. They have handed their lives over so completely that the furnace has lost all its terror. What can you threaten a man with who is already dead to the world? The king's face contorts with a rage that is almost inhuman. He orders the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. So hot that the flames kill the soldiers who throw the 3 men in. They fall, bound, into the heart of the inferno. From the world's perspective, it is over. The rebels have been silenced. The system has won. The music can play on, but the king is still watching. And what he sees makes his blood run cold. He leaps to his feet, his voice filled with astonishment. Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? His counselors confirm it. True, O king. Look. He cries out, his finger trembling as he points toward the roaring mouth of the furnace. I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. and they are not hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. In the heart of the furnace, where the world's power has reached its absolute destructive limit, a new reality is born. The fire that was meant to consume them has instead consumed their bonds. They are not cowering in a corner. They are walking. They are free, and they are not alone. The fourth man. The king, a pagan steeped in a pantheon of gods, can only describe him with the highest language he knows, like the Son of God. Or, as some translations render it, like a son of the gods. It does not matter. The point is, he recognizes a being of a different order. A being untouched by the laws of physics. A being who radiates an authority that makes the furnace feel like a pleasant garden. This is the seventh and most profound dark truth hidden in the book of Daniel. The purpose of the fire is not to destroy you, but to introduce you to the one who walks with you in it. The world will build its furnaces. It will demand your worship. It will threaten you with annihilation. And for those whose faith is rooted in the God of Israel, there is no promise of escaping the fire. The promise is that you will not be alone in it. The ultimate revelation of God is not found in the palace, or on the mountaintop, or in the theological classroom. It is found in the crucible. It is there, when all human hope is gone, when the system has done its worst, that the veil thins and you see the form of the fourth man. He doesn't appear after the trial is over to comfort you. He enters the trial with you. His presence doesn't necessarily extinguish the flames, but it transforms their very nature. The fire becomes a place of communion, a holy ground, a sanctuary. Nebuchadnezzar, shaken to his core, approaches the mouth of the furnace. The man who moments ago was bellowing with rage now speaks with a voice of trembling awe. He does not call them by their Babylonian slave names. He calls them by their true spiritual station. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. He is summoning them out of a reality he cannot enter. He is acknowledging a God who is most high over his own pathetic, temporary power. And they walk out. The assembled princes, governors, and counselors, the entire power structure of Babylon, they crowd around. They stare. This is a moment that shatters their understanding of the world. They examine the three men. The fire had no power over their bodies. Not a hair on their head was singed. Their clothes were not scorched. And there was not even the smell of smoke on them. This detail is staggering. It is one thing to survive a fire. It is another thing to emerge from it as if it never happened, to not even carry its scent. This is not just preservation. It is a miracle of a higher dimension. It signifies that when you pass through the crucible with God, you are not just a survivor who carries the scars and the trauma of the ordeal. You are transformed by the presence of the fourth man to such a degree that the trial leaves no trace of its intended damage upon you. You are marked not by the fire, but by the one who walked with you in it. The system is broken. The king's golden idol now stands on the plain of Dura as a monument to his own folly. Nebuchadnezzar makes another decree, but this one is different. He blesses the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He declares that any people, nation, or language that speaks anything amiss against their God shall be cut in pieces and their houses made an ash heap. Why? Because there is no other God who can deliver like this. The fire did not just save three men. It converted an empire. It forced the head of gold to bow, not just to a prophet this time, but to the reality of a God who operates within the very fires of persecution. The story of Daniel is not a collection of disconnected moral tales. It is a single, unfolding revelation. It begins with the attack on identity. It moves to the prophecy of the world's degenerative history. It exposes the system's idolatrous counterfeit. And it culminates in the fiery test that reveals the presence of God in the midst of suffering. These truths are not ancient history. They are a map for your soul. You are living in the feet of iron and clay. All around you, the world is erecting. Its golden images of progress and conformity, demanding your allegiance. The music of its culture is playing, designed to lull you into bowing. The furnaces of social, economic, and spiritual consequence are being heated for those who refuse. The question is not whether the fire will come. The question is, have you cultivated a faith that does not depend on being delivered from it? Have you come to a place where you can say, but if not, because only then are you truly free. Only then has the world lost its power over you. And only then, when you dare to stand while the world bows, will you look into the heart of the flames and see the form of the fourth man waiting for you. The night is deep. The 3 a.m. hour approaches. The summons is not just to awaken from sleep, but to awaken from a dream the world has been spinning for millennia. The stone is coming. The statue will fall. The fire is a prelude to the glory that will be revealed. When the clock strikes 3 a.m. tonight. Open your eyes, but more importantly, open your soul. The furnace has gone cold. The golden idol on the plain of Dura now stands as a monument to failed power, a silent testament to the God who delivers. A great calm seems to settle over the empire, but the war is not over. The battle has simply moved. It has moved from the public square to the most secret and dangerous territory of all, the heart of the king. The pride that builds golden statues cannot be defeated by a single spectacle, no matter how miraculous. It must be uprooted. For a time, there is nothing, a quiet chapter. You might be tempted to turn the page, to assume the lesson has been learned. But then, you find it, a scroll, a proclamation, and it is written in a hand you do not expect. It is not the careful script of a prophet or a scribe. It is the bold imperial hand of the king himself. It begins, Nebuchadnezzar the king. To all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. He is writing to you. He is bearing his own soul, publishing his own shame and his own salvation for the whole world to see. He speaks of a time of comfort. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. Can you feel it? The deep contentment of a man who has everything. The world is at his feet. His enemies are silent. His kingdom is secure. His wealth is immeasurable. This is the most dangerous state for a human soul. In the quiet of his success, in the comfort of his flourishing, the seed of pride, which had been scorched but not killed, begins to grow again. And with it comes another dream. It is not a dream of cold, dead metal this time. It is a dream of something alive. He sees a tree, but it is no ordinary tree. It stands in the midst of the earth, and its height is great. It grows and becomes strong. Its top reaches to the heavens, and it is visible to the end of all the earth. Its leaves are lovely, its fruit abundant, and in it is food for all. The beasts of the field find shade under it. The birds of the heavens dwell in its branches, and all flesh is fed from it. This is the king's self-perception. He is the great tree, the benevolent provider, the center of the world from whom all blessings flow. It is a beautiful, majestic image, and that is what makes it so profoundly dangerous. The most resilient pride is the pride that believes it is righteous. As he watches this magnificent vision, the sky darkens. A new figure enters the dream, not a man, not a beast. He is described with a name that sends a shiver through the spiritual world. A watcher, a holy one. He descends from heaven, an agent of the Most High, an auditor of the human soul. And he cries aloud with a voice that cracks the foundations of the dream. Chop down the tree and cut off its branches. Strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit Let the beast get out from under it, and the birds from its branches. The judgment is swift, total. The source of the world's shade and sustenance is to be leveled. But then, a strange command of mercy. Nevertheless, leave the stump of its roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. A stump, a remnant, and a band of the very metals of his former vision. A reminder that this personal judgment is tied to the fate of all worldly kingdoms. The decree turns from the tree to the man it represents. Let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from that of a man. Let him be given the heart of a beast, and let 7 times pass over him. He awakens in a cold sweat. The majesty of the tree is gone, replaced by the terror of the beast's heart. He knows this vision is for him. He calls his wise men. And once again, the wisdom of Babylon is silent. They see the terror in the king's eyes. They hear the words of the dream, but they have no key. They cannot unlock its meaning. Then Daniel is brought in. And when the king recounts the dream, something remarkable happens. Daniel, the man who faced down lions and deciphered the fate of empires, is stunned into silence. He's troubled. His thoughts alarm him. He feels not triumph at the pagan king's coming doom, but a profound sorrow. He sees the terrifying necessity of this judgment, and it grieves his soul. The king sees this. Do not let the dream or its interpretation trouble you, he says. A strange moment of gentleness from the tyrant. Daniel looks at the most powerful man on earth, and with a heart heavy with the weight of the message, he delivers the interpretation. My lord, may the dream be for those who hate you, and its interpretation for your enemies. The tree that you saw, it is you, O king. He explains the coming madness, the loss of reason, the exile from humanity, the 7 years of living as an animal, exposed to the elements, his mind gone. It is a sentence of living death. And then he reveals the purpose, the dark truth at the heart of this divine surgery. It will last until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. The stump is left so that you will know that your kingdom will be assured to you after you come to know that heaven rules. This is the principle of the stump. It is the dark truth that God's love is sometimes a hammer, and his mercy is sometimes a blade. He will shatter the ego to save the soul. He will lead you into a wilderness of madness to teach you the simple truth of your own creatureliness. He will strip you of your crown so you can finally look up. Having delivered this devastating prophecy, Daniel does one last thing. He offers a way out, an off-ramp from the collision course with divine judgment. Therefore, O king, let my advice be acceptable to you. Break off your sins by being righteous, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor. Perhaps there may be a lengthening of your prosperity. The choice is laid bare. Humility or humiliation, repentance or ruin. The king stands at a crossroads. The warning has been given. The clock of heaven has started to tick. 12 months pass, a full year. The dream begins to fade, like the memory of a storm on a sunny day. The terror recedes, replaced by the warm, intoxicating sun of renewed success. The warning from Daniel becomes just another piece of intelligence. Filed away, forgotten. The king has been given a season of grace, an opportunity to heed the prophet's counsel, to break off his pride by showing mercy to the poor. But he does not. The great tree of his ego, though shaken, continues to draw its nourishment from the soil of power and praise. He is walking on the roof of his royal palace in Babylon. It is the pinnacle of his world. From this vantage point, he can see the full extent of his glory. The sprawling city, a testament to his ambition. The hanging gardens, a wonder of the world, built for his queen. The massive ziggurat, the tower, of Babel reborn, clawing at the sky. He breathes in the air of his own creation, and the final, fatal thought forms on his lips. Is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty? I, my power, my majesty. In that moment, he gathers all the glory to himself. He seals his own fate. The words are still in his mouth when the second voice comes. It is not the voice of a dream this time. It is a voice from heaven, real, audible, the voice of the watcher, executing the sentence. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you. The divine sentence echoes the king's own proud declaration. He claimed the kingdom as his own creation, and so the God, who's the true giver of kingdoms, rips it from his grasp. The judgment is instantaneous. The prophecy is fulfilled not as a slow decline, but as a lightning strike. The text says that very hour the word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. His mind shatters. The sophisticated consciousness of the architect of empires dissolves into the raw, instinctual mind of a beast. He is driven from men. The courtiers who once bowed to him now flee in terror from the feral thing he has become. He eats grass like oxen. His body is wet with the dew of heaven. He seeks no shelter. His hair grows long like eagle's feathers, matted and wild. His nails become like bird's claws, thick and curved dot. Can you picture it? The most powerful man on earth, the head of gold, scrabbling in the dirt on all fours, his crown replaced with mud and leaves. This is not a metaphor. This is a historical account of a divine intervention so profound, so terrifying that it was recorded by the king himself as a warning to all future generations. It is a stark depiction of what happens when a human soul completely severs its connection to the divine source and worships at the altar of self. The result is not godhood. The result is devolution, a descent below the level of the human. 4. 7 times 7 years. This is reality. An endless cycle of seasons, of sun and rain, marked only by animal instinct. The great tree has been chopped down. The stump remains, a silent, brutish monument in the fields outside the city. He built. The band of iron and bronze holds it fast, a symbol that heaven's purpose has not been thwarted. And then, at the end of the days, something stirs in the beast. A glimmer, a flicker of memory. The text is beautifully simple. And at the end of the time I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me. He looks up. For 7 years, his gaze has been fixed on the earth, on the grass, on the dirt. But now, he lifts his eyes. It is the first act of a restored soul, the first gesture of worship. In looking up, he reestablishes the vertical connection. He acknowledges a reality higher than himself. And in that instant, his reason returns. His first thought is not for his lost kingdom. His first act is not to seek a bath or a barber. His first act is to bless the Most High. He praises and honors him who lives forever. His sanity returns with a torrent of worship. And the content of that worship reveals the lesson that was burned into his soul. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can restrain his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" He has learned the truth of the stump. He understands that his power was a gift, not a right. His majesty was a reflection, not a source. He's been broken, and in the breaking, he has been made whole. At the same moment his understanding returns, so does his honor. His kingdom, his counselors and nobles seek him out. They don't find a beast. They find their king, but a new king. A man hollowed out of his pride and filled with a terrifying and beautiful awe. He is reestablished in his kingdom, and excellent majesty is added to him. He loses everything to gain more than he ever had before, because now his glory is rooted, not in himself, but in the God who gives and takes away. His final words in this public testimony are a warning that echoes down through the ages. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all of whose works are truth and his ways justice, and those who walk in pride he is able to abase. The story seems to end here, but it doesn't. A shadow is falling. A new generation is rising in Babylon, one that has not learned the lesson of the stump. The palace is about to witness a scene of defiance so profound. The years turn. The story of the humbled king becomes a legend, a whispered tale told by old men in the palace. Nebuchadnezzar is dead. The great tree has fallen, and the stump is all that remains in memory. Now, a new king sits on the throne of Babylon. His name is Belshazzer. He is Nebuchadnezzar's grandson, a man who has inherited the power but not the wisdom, the splendor but not the terror. He knows the story. The text makes it clear. He knows about the dream, the furnace, the 7 years of madness, but he does not take it to heart. He sees it as a sign of his grandfather's weakness, not a sign of God's power. He's the heir of the Golden Empire, and he believes its glory is his by right. To prove it, he throws a party, a great feast for 1,000 of his lords, a spectacle of decadent power. He is drinking wine before the 1,000, his ego inflated by the fawning sycophancy of his court. And in the haze of his drunken pride, he has an idea, a terrible, blasphemous idea. He gives a command. Bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple, which had been in Jerusalem. This is not a casual act. This is a calculated act of supreme defiance. These vessels, the cups, the bowls, were not mere plunder. They were holy. They were consecrated for the worship of the God of Israel. They had been kept in the treasury of Babylon, artifacts of a conquered God. But to use them, to drink from them, is to cross a line. It is to take what is sacred to God and profane it with the cheap debauchery of a drunken party. Belshazzer is not just having a feast. He is performing a spiritual ceremony. He is intentionally desecrating the holy to prove that his God, the God of Babylon, is superior. He is mocking the God who humbled his grandfather. He is spitting in the face of the Most High. The vessels are brought, gleaming gold and silver. They are filled with wine. And the king, his lords, his wives, and his concubines, they drink from them. As they drink, they praise their own gods, gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. They toast the lifeless idols using the sacred instruments of the living God. In that moment, a profound spiritual boundary is violated. The party reaches its crescendo of sacrilege. The music is loud, the laughter is coarse. And then the music stops. The laughter dies in their throats. Every eye is drawn to the wall, over by the lampstand, where the light casts flickering shadows on the plaster. Something has appeared. The fingers of a man's hand, just the fingers, disembodied, writing. They move with a slow, deliberate grace, scratching glowing letters into the wall of the palace. The king sees it. His face turns pale. The text says his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened and his knees knocked against each other. This is not mere fear. This is primal terror, the kind of terror that dissolves the body. The proud king who was toasting his own power moments ago is now a quivering mass of dread. The supernatural has invaded his sanctuary of sin. The God he mocked has just RSVP'd to his party. He screams for his wise men, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers. The old guard of failed wisdom is dragged out once more. Belshazzer makes a desperate promise. Whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation, shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. The rewards of a dying kingdom. He offers power that is about to evaporate. The wise men come. They stare at the glowing alien script on the wall. They see the letters, but they are meaningless to them. It is a language beyond their comprehension. They cannot read the writing, much less interpret it. The king's terror deepens into despair. The party is over. A shroud of doom has fallen over the great hall. Then the queen enters. Not one of Belshazzar's wives, but the queen mother, likely the widow of Nebuchadnezzar. She has seen this all before. The arrogant king, the supernatural crisis, the failure of the world's wisdom. She speaks to the terrified Belshazzer. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God. And in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. Daniel. The king named Belshazzer. She reminds him of the one man who can interface with this reality. Daniel. Now an old man. He has been living in obscurity, ignored by the new regime. The system only calls for the prophet when it is in a state of total collapse. Daniel is brought before the king. He is old, perhaps in his 80s. His body is frail, but his spirit is a pillar of fire. He looks at the terrified young king. The desecrated holy vessels scattered on the tables, the glowing words on the wall. He sees the whole pathetic story in a single glance. Belshazzer, trying to regain some semblance of authority, repeats his offer. Purple robes, a gold chain, third ruler in the kingdom. Daniel's response is pure, cold fire. Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. He dismisses the king's treasures with a wave of his hand. He is a citizen of the coming kingdom of the stone. The trinkets of a doomed empire are dust to him. He agrees to read the writing, but not for reward. He does it to pronounce the judgment of his God. But first, he gives the king a history lesson. He reminds him of Nebuchadnezzar, of his greatness and of his fall. He was driven from the sons of men. His heart was made like the beasts, until he knew that the Most High God rules in the kingdom of men. Then he turns the knife. But you, his son Belshazzer, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. This is the damning charge. You knew. You had the testimony. You had the warning, and you chose to defy it. You have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You have brought the vessels of his house before you. You have praised gods of silver and gold, who cannot see or hear or know. And the God who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. The accusation hangs in the air, heavy and final. Then Daniel turns to the wall. The glowing letters. He reads them aloud. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. The riddle is spoken. And now, the final, devastating interpretation. Mene, God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Pairs, the singular of upharsin. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Numbered, weighed, divided. It is the death sentence of an empire in 3 words. The party is not just over. The kingdom is over. The golden age of Babylon, which began with the capture of Jerusalem, ends this very night with the desecration of its holy things. Even as Daniel speaks, the sounds of battle can be heard in the distance. The armies of Cyrus the Persian, who had diverted the river Euphrates, are pouring into the city through the dry riverbed. Under the walls, the prophecies fulfilled with terrifying speed. The text is blunt. That very night Belshazzer, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom. The head of gold has fallen. The age of silver has begun. The statue is still standing, but it is one step closer to its final brittle form. The story of Daniel, however, is not over. He has survived the fall of 2 empires. But the greatest test of his faith, the most famous story of all, is still to come. And it will take place not in a fiery furnace, but in a den of lions.